with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Always helps to have the microphone to talk into. Good morning, everybody. Paul Sir here on Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Josh Fenwick. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing lovely, Paul. I'm excited to talk some NBA playoff basketball.
And we have a lot to talk about. And in the studio with us today is the host of the Muneeb Khan Show, Muneeb Khan himself. Welcome, Muneeb. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Cannot wait. One of the best times of the year. NBA playoffs are just starting. We just had the play-in games happen, which, some of them very good. Last two yesterday, kind of duds.
It was like, we'll get to that in a second because you're right, they were. But the first four were actually pretty good.
Very good.
Last two, you're right, they weren't. 833-401-1440 is our text line, 833-401-1440. If you have comments, questions, thoughts about what you think is going to be happening during the NBA playoffs that are ready to get rolling at 11 a.m. this morning with Canada's own Toronto Raptors, please send your thoughts and questions in to us. Okay, let's talk about the play-in games right off the bat. Charlotte won ugly in game one, then turned around and got absolutely slammed yesterday, crushed. What I think, guys, that took place here, like Con Kneppel, who, is, I'd say if you had to say right now what his odds would be for being Rookie of the Year, probably 51-49 over Cooper Flagg. I think that's the way the vote might go. That seems to be where most pundits are falling. But boy, he had two rough nights. He learned the rookie lessons over the first two playoff games. You have to. This is my point of view on Charlotte. They have to be thrilled with this season. Disappointed about not being in the playoffs, but I think they have to be thrilled because LaMelo Ball actually played like an adult and became a real good basketball player. And sometimes I say some caustic things, but I can at my age. And I just looked at what LaMelo Ball. I looked at him as a street baller. I looked at him as a great, talented, flaky head case guy. I didn't blame him when you've got the kind of family dynamic that he came through. And I'm not saying there was no abuse or anything like that. It was just a weird path to get to the NBA. And to this point, I think most critics looked at him and said, a lot of talent, but a head case. In it for himself, really doesn't get it at a high level. He certainly got it this year. And I think so. You look at that, the solidifying of the lineup, Con Kneppel's amazing contributions, unexpectedly great contributions. And I think, too, the comfort with a new coaching staff, which includes Edmonton's own Jermaine Buckner on the staff, you have to look at it after a few days and say, I think this was great, Josh.
Yeah.
I think we really broke through some barriers.
I absolutely agree with you. You, me, and Ben have all been pretty hot on the Charlotte Hornets since the new year, essentially, which is that's when LaMelo started playing like an adult. Yep. The sentiment that really goes around is I never once thought that LaMelo Ball would actually be a winning player in his life, and then all of a sudden he did.
Yes.
He averaged less points, less assists, less rebounds, but the team was better for it, and he became more efficient. So I love it from that point of view. Brandon Miller figured out his game. He doesn't have to go outside all the time. He can just take it to the rack, and I think with the addition of Con Kneppel to the lineup, he was like, yeah, okay, I can actually just go to the rack because we actually have a guy that can shoot here. So I'm with you that, yes, this season is an absolute win. They had the best five-man lineup in the NBA per net rating with 700 more possessions played together than the second team with the highest net rating. So it was good. You talk about winning ugly against the Heat, probably the best playing game ever. They lost.
Sure, that's what I would have thought too.
Yeah, it was a ugly loss yesterday.
That game yesterday was hideous.
LaMelo had 2 points at half. but you need to hear this. I brought this up on the Triple S today. This is from OptaStats. The Hornets are the first team in NBA history to make fewer than 30 field goals, miss 30 or more threes, commit 30 or more fouls, and lose by 30 or more points, all in the same game. Regular season, playoffs, or play-in.
Wow, that's a great stat. I love stats. I hate analytics, but I love stats. And so, Muneeb, I think we're going to have a different opinion from you on whether it was a successful season or not in Charlotte.
Yeah, so first I want to say it kind of felt like LaMelo Ball started to give a little bit glimpses of Tyrese Halliburton. Pace of play kind of changed. They led the league in three-point attempts and makes. The pace of play was very different when he was on the floor versus when he was off. But how many times are we going to do this with the Charlotte Hornets? Like, Miles Bridges has been there 7 years, right? Like, they haven't won anything. The best decision that they've made in the last 8 years is Con Knueppel. It's not good enough for us to sit here and say that this is a successful time when they haven't had any level of something to build upon. If we're sitting here and saying that this is a building step for them, it's taken too long. And I fear that in the NBA, when it takes this long, you eventually move on. And this is a big offseason for them, because if they are not attracting some level of free agents to build upon this, other teams will get better. And they are stuck in mediocrity for far too long. And I just don't know how they when you look at the All-NBA free agent list, there's not a single one available. So you can't build through free agency. You can't trading is very tough to do in the NBA. And you're not going to be drafting very high this year. So if you're the Charlotte Hornets, how do you continue to build upon this? And we're expecting them to be back in this position next year. I think that that's too optimistic. I think that they had to make the playoffs. Personally, I think that obviously we would have talked very differently about the Orlando Magic had they had lost. And I agree that would have been a very big disappointment on their side. But I feel like we've gone through this thing with the Charlotte Hornets way too often. And my biggest problem with the play-in game that they had was that instead of cheering their success against the Miami Heat, all everybody can talk about was the one play. And it drove me nuts. It's like this is the first semblance of hope that they've had in the last 10 years. And all we are talking about is how he pushed Bam out of the way. Like, what, and again, I agree that, but I'm not going to go so far to say it was a success.
I think you're off base.
Well, here, a couple of thoughts I have as I'm listening to you, and I see the gray cloud hanging over your head and the rain pouring on you about Charlotte. Here, I completely disagree with you from this vantage point. It is real hard in the NBA, and I think this is borne out year in and year out, to build a successful organization, particularly in a small market. Mm-hmm. And Charlotte is one of the smallest markets in the NBA. Like when you compare Charlotte even to Minneapolis, or certainly to Denver, Charlotte is in its own world. And of course, Michael Jordan's name is attached to it, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just so hard to build a successful franchise. To your point, you make a good point. It's gone on a long time. For Charlotte fans, certainly far too long. But the thing is, in order to take the next step, you have to take the first step. And I think that's what they did, because not only did they make the play-in round this year, they made the play-in round, I think, when nobody expected that. And certainly the way they started the season out, you would have looked at them and go, here we go again, another train wreck in Charlotte. And they turned it around. Knueppel, 273, three-pointers.
Yep.
LaMelo, 272. Mm-hmm. Incredible steps forward. And sometimes it takes that kind of player. And Knueppel, I think, is the catalyst for their success. Serious-minded, hardcore, tough-minded, shoots it extremely well, spreads the court. Bridges finally became a closer version of the player I think people envisioned him. Brandon took a big step forward, because if this guy figures it out, Miller's going to be really good. Mm-hmm. This year he took a step towards being really, really good. So the way I look at them is probably next year, for the reasons you describe accurately, Muneeb, is that they're not going to be able to strengthen up their lineup unless they're able to make some kind of unexpected trade, because they'll probably get somebody decent in the draft lower on because it's a good draft. But what they're going to have to do is build with this young core that they already have and see how much better that can be if they're able to stay healthy. For me, it's a big win for Charlotte because being part of the long-suffering Timberwolves culture, where I know how hard it is for so many reasons. It's like there's this straight and narrow path. Ben Golliver and I talk about this a bit in our conversation later. But it's like there's this straight and narrow that a few teams get on, and for a couple of reasons. One is they have a great front office. Number two, they draft wisely and the players pan out. And number three, the basketball gods just say, you know what? We're going to make OKC good now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be way better than anybody thought he would be. Nobody expected that. So there is an element of unexpected, an unexpected blessing that has to, I think, come about within a franchise in order to be good. Like, look at Washington. Look at Philadelphia. Look at these teams that have tried to rebuild and just fail miserably for any number of reasons. It's just really hard. So for me, Charlotte, I think, was really successful this year. I think your points are well taken. It's taken a long time. But the bottom line is now they're competitive. The fan base is jazzed again. And you've got some young guys that if they stay healthy could be really, really good.
So what happens if they decide to trade LaMelo this offseason?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So I'm looking at their payroll right now, and Paul, I think you hit the nail on the head with a certain word, which was culture. They're building a culture right now. Tell me what the culture in Charlotte was before this, because it was like
revolving door culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bring him in, fire him. Bring him in, fire him.
Absolutely. And hey, you know what? We've got Kimba. That's good enough. Like, he's good enough to sell some tickets. Con Knipple coming in, I remember a big headline of the year was when they went to Milwaukee, and they're like, Con, you're from here. Like, where are we going for dinner? And he says, well, I'm going home. And they said, great, we're all going to Con's house for dinner.
I know.
And that's like where everything changed. So you have to build this culture, and their entire core is back next year. Their entire team. The only person not coming back is Kobe White, who they traded for at the deadline, and Xavier Tillman Sr. Kobe White obviously made that huge shot in the playing game. But I think you said first step. I think a big step next year, especially because the NBA is a fickle thing. Someone is going to get injured in this playoffs, and it's going to kill a team. The Sixers, like, as great as Tyrese Maxey is,
he is great. Yeah,
this is sort of their ceiling with no Joel Embiid, you know, and so they can make that step up. The Hornets or the Raptors, I think we could all agree, are ahead of schedule in a sense.
And we're going to get to the Raptors in just a little bit here, but I want to emphasize a couple of other points that I think is a positive. There are some real, what I would call exceptionally positive trends in the NBA right now. Number one, you have young athletes who are the adults in the room, that are the personalities, that are the that express themselves emotionally in a positive way. Like the way the team celebrated when they were winning games is very reminiscent of the NCAA.
I agree.
Love that. Number two, I'm going to call it the Wemby effect, but I think I would call it even more than that. I would call the Wemby plus rookie effect in the NBA on the culture of teams and players. Before I touch on that, real quickly, OKC and Denver have led the way now in culture, building culture in a team, building around quality players and quality people as the way forward. That talent no longer is the only precursor towards team success. It's find some critical talent and then build role players around them and build a culture of excitement and enthusiasm and keep players in your program that want to be there and want to do exceptional things. That's number one. But the Wemby plus rookie effect is Wemby's ticked when he loses and joyful when he wins. He goes off and does spiritual guidance in the off season. He cries on his mother's shoulder when he loses the gold medal. This matters to him in a way that basketball should matter. It matters to Con Kneppel, who comes from this marvelous basketball family in Milwaukee with 3, sounds like stud younger brothers that are going to be players as well. And then you look at Cooper Flagg, who comes into a horribly constructed Dallas Maverick lineup, and there are injuries and blah, 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 all the excuses that we've made for them, but has a historic rookie season there on this really bad team. And so, and again, the way he conducts himself, and I would even extend it over into Caitlin Clark and the way she's reshaping the WNBA. Thank God.
Thank God.
Because now, I mean, we have seen Caitlin's excellence and superior public relations skills revealing and outing the horrible public relations skills of many of the WNBA players, of pettiness, jealousy, dirty play, all of those things. But now the league is coming around to being more like a Caitlin Clark. So there is a real shift, I think, by the players. Now, we can talk about head office, and I'd throw Adam Silver under the bus in a heartbeat. I'm not an Adam Silver guy at all. In some respects, he's a smart guy, but I don't like his values. I don't like the way what his points of emphasis are oftentimes, but I sure like what I'm seeing from players, coaches, and organizations.
I think a lot of that has to go in with the NIL and the ability that college athletes are now earning lots of money.
Yes.
Because the importance on winning to your point, taking it serious because of the money has impacted them. And you see it a lot throughout colleges. Obviously, you're earning a few $1 million. Now you're getting media trained. So
Very much
you're
so.
coming into the league
Good point.
as somebody that's already been to the top. And now I've talked to a lot of scouts, and I just asked them a simple question, like how important is it for you to find out when you're going through the draft process on how much they love ball, right? Like when you do these interviews and you get 20 minutes, right? At the end of the day, the draft is the right roll of the dice. You have zero idea what this individual is going to be when they come into your building. When you get 20 minutes of interview, what are you actually asking them? You're just asking them if they love the sport, because everything else can kind of work itself out. We've done the process already. So I think a lot of that does have to go in with these college athletes now making a lot of money, and they're coming in a little bit younger as well now. So
and they're coming in, and they're coming in younger and older. Because now you're going to see most likely some guys that have declared for the draft decide to stay in college because they can make more money. And so it really has created a dynamic where now players are going to be coming out of college again. Now, because of the money that's out on the table and in the public, they're going to be coming into the pros more mature, more seasoned, more physically ready, because there are very few Wembys, there's very few Kobes, there's very few Kevin Garnetts that can fit. LeBron James, I mean, maybe the most ready player ever physically out of high school for the NBA. Now you're going to get that advantage of that experience, a la Tim Duncan, playing 4 years and coming in and being NBA ready.
The other thing is that I feel like a lot of the older legends that have kind of gone through are willing to work with a lot of these younger kids. You saw Wemby with Kevin Garnett for last offseason. You've seen Cooper Flagg working with Kevin Durant in the offseason and things like that, preparing Con Kneppel working with Giannis in Milwaukee, right? So like having a little bit of more access, I think has helped as well. And then in the college game, because you have 18-year-old and 28-year-old on the same team, I think has also, which is kind of weird, but it has also kind of helped.
Well, and I think the NCAA, Josh, is going to start taking concrete steps like that. I think the most recent one is now 5 years. The clock starts at 19. You got 5 years to play in the NCAA.
Yeah.
Now, I don't agree with that, because what do you do with the JUCO kids now? Like they say your JUCO experience doesn't count against your eligibility. Well, now it will. If you play 2 years and you're 20 years old, now you've got, instead of 5, you got 4 years or 3 years in some cases. So, but the NCAA, the problem is, like we've talked about on this show many times, Josh, is they let the cats out of the corral. And trying to herd the cats back in now is going to be next to impossible, because as soon as they do that, somebody's going to take the NCAA to court and win.
Yeah, it's the famous saying, right?
Careful.
Pandora's box been opened.
Yep. careful
once
what
it's
you
open,
wish for.
yeah,
Yep.
you can't close it again. So that's essentially what it is. And yes, I think older people coming into the league is better, or because they are more seasoned pros. You brought up Wemby. Like, yeah, he was ready to come in, but he'd been playing pro since he was 14, right? Same with Luka. All these guys, it's like they are more mentally ready coming in, and these guys are culture changers. Like you saw Luka when he came in with the Mavericks, they had a totally different look. They were fighting for a playoff spot. Wemby is the most competitive player I've ever seen in my entire life.
He's refreshingly competitive in an era, an expression. He expresses his competitiveness in an old school way because he really reminds me of Jordan, Bird, Magic, Russell, those kind of players who were very expressive while they were competing. And again, it's refreshing to see because I appreciate Wemby because the way he expresses himself is what I would call real human emotion, as opposed to the BS human emotion of guys screaming their heads off, making their various gestures and signs, which drives me out of my mind. It's a basket. So the heck what? Yeah, just get back and play some defense. But there, I'm a curmudgeonly old guy. But you know what? We're going to take a break, guys, now because we need to break down in our next segment the East and the West matchups. We've got the NBA matchups starting shortly here, and we're going to go through each of them and make our comments and predictions. You're listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Josh Fenwick and along with Muneeb Khan, who's with us today. He's from the Muneeb Khan Show. You can listen every Sunday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. here on Sports 1440. We'll be back right after these messages. Sports 1440, I'm here with Muneeb Khan and with Josh Fenwick, our show's producer, and we're going to start by attacking the NBA playoffs, which get started at 11 a.m. with our own Toronto Raptors at seed at number 5. Finished the season strong, had a great last week, won out in their last week, and now they face off against the ballyhooed Cleveland Cavaliers with, is a great word, isn't it? That's an old guy word, ballyhooed, that you use in situations just like this. But I think like right now you've got the Cavs, who, if you look starting lineup, you have to say most likely Cavs have more talent in the starting lineup. Maybe. But can the Raptors give the Cleveland Cavaliers a series? If there is one series, I believe, where the lower seed in the first round can win, I think it's this series. I think that, in my opinion, I think the Raptors have a shot. Pirtle is a good big, and he's going to be able to compete, I think, favorably with Jared Allen. Mobley, neither team is overly physical in terms of their big guys, and that, I think, favors the Raptors. Ingram has been playing marvelously well. He was the NBA Player of the Week. He's playing extremely well. And Scotty Barnes, on a lot of people's voting ballots, guys, is a borderline third-team NBA All-Star and certainly a first-team All-NBA defensive team. And here's my premise, and I'll go to you guys. Scotty Barnes can, because he's somewhat positionless as a defender, he can guard Donovan Mitchell. And with his length and size advantage, I think he could be a factor. Because to me, the Cavaliers, more so than James Harden, their fortunes will rely on Donovan Mitchell. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, we talked about it. I don't think the Raptors actually have a sniff in this at all. I totally disagree with you, Paul, because
you're right. You have every right to be wrong.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Hey, fair enough. Because the one thing that we all know about the NBA playoffs is you have to be able to hit the 3-ball, and the Raptors just cannot do it.
100% right.
And Donovan Mitchell scares the hell out of me as a playoff performer. I think sometimes it does come at the expense of his own team, but now that he has a ball mover in James Harden, who's not going to be relied on to take all the shots all the time, like this is a guy who for his career averages 28 points per game in the playoffs.
Right.
So, and I like what they have down low, and I do not trust the shooting of the Toronto Raptors to really make this a series, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
So give me the Cavs in 5.
Cavs in 5. Okay, but and you know what? The Raptors have given you no reason to trust their three-point shooting. However, if the Raptors are able to make this a dogfight and not allow Cleveland to get downhill on them the whole time, which will be very tough. With Harden, he's the master of getting downhill. And Donovan Mitchell, as you said, has been a very, very effective playoff performer. all that aside, I still think, I'm not saying the Raptors will win. This pick of the series that we have, Muneeb, this is the one series in the first round where I think the lower seed has a shot.
Yeah, I think the 4-5 matchup is always very, very interesting as well. The other thing that, I think that the Raptors definitely have a chance. But the other thing that I think is important to note is that Josh is kind of in the majority when it comes to this, right? Like,
it makes and for good reason.
I watch a lot of Raptors basketball.
Right, for good reason.
Yeah.
And the Cavs are under a lot of pressure. I mean, this is a maker. You don't make the trade to go get James Harden if you are not trying to win right now.
Win now.
Right, the Raptors are playing with house money. And when you're playing with house money, I think that there is a realistic chance that you can win, and pull an upset, essentially, right? Like today's game is opened up as a, 9-point dog. So, like, not only are we supposed to lose, we're supposed to lose big against this Cavs team.
That's a big spread.
And I just think that, you said we're scared of Donovan Mitchell. I think, everywhere James Harden's been, he is the system. And I think that his ability to keep everybody involved, like Jared Allen and that two-man game, I think that we have to eliminate. Because, Josh talked about how Donovan Mitchell is going to give you 28 to 30 regardless. If you can hold him under 25 points, that's already a win. So you know what you're getting from him. But if James Harden's giving you 15 and 12 assists, okay, now we have a situation where we can't stop anything.
If Jared Allen is getting his easy points at the rim, and that pick and roll action does start freeing up 3-point opportunities, and with Strus being back, 100% right, 100%. I'm just going for the sake of it. I'm looking at it and saying, I like the way the Raptors finished the season. I think Scotty Barnes can be an impact defender, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are not a physical team. They're very good. They should win, but the Raptors have a shot. Let's move on. Today also, we've got the Hawks versus the Knicks.
I'm surprised you didn't go with that one to pull the upset.
Hawks versus the Knicks?
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't go in that direction.
I guess the way I'm looking at it, Muneeb, is that I think the Hawks, and again, we have another Edmontonian in there who GM. A lot of people feel could be GM of the year, and Nancy Salah, like Ross Shepgrad. 2 Ross Shepgrads in the NBA.
He was my pick for executive of the year.
How about that?
Incredible. But the Hawks have the ability to win this. I'm going to go with the Knicks. I think they have playoff experience that the Hawks don't possess at this point. And you talk about pressure on the Cavs. Think of the pressure on the Knicks.
Yep.
Take the Cavs' pressure, multiply it by 100 in New York, and that's what the Knicks have right now. They have all the pressure in the world on them. I am going with the Knicks in this one. What do you think, Josh?
I think this is going to be a tight series because what the Hawks have become on the back of Jalen Johnson is a gritty defensive team, and he doesn't always put up like monster points or anything, but he does everything on the court. I still like the Knicks in this series. I would take the Knicks in 7 because at the end of the day, I think they just have the best player in the series in Jalen Brunson. And we saw what he can do in the clutch all of last year's postseason. So I would take the Knicks in 7 in this one. Hawks, not enough playoff experience, and your first playoff games are in the mecca of basketball.
Yeah, Knicks have to win. I'm sorry. Like, there's no other way that you let go of Tom Thibodeau last year to bring in Mike Brown, and he wins 50 games, and all this conversation about Tom Thibodeau couldn't get it done in the playoffs because he played too many minutes for his starters and all. None of us loved the firing of that coach. And even if you did, how much better has this team really gone, right? And I think that the Knicks, like to your point, under a lot of pressure, but deservingly so. You have gone out and done everything to help establish a team that's supposed to win, right? Jalen Brunson got all of his friends as teammates. You went out and got Karl Anthony Towns. And I think Cat has to be the best player in the series because you're going to need Jalen Brunson to be the guy in every other series, but you don't know what you're going to get from Cat on a given night. So I think he has to be the physical guy, come out and assert his dominance from day one.
Famously, about a month ago, Karl Anthony Towns said he's still trying to figure out his role on this team.
Yeah, like what are we doing?
That's a problem.
Is that not a coaching issue though?
No, that is a Karl Anthony Towns problem.
Cat is noted for his fogginess in terms of how he perceives himself. I would say he needs to be the second or third best player in the series. I still think Jalen Brunson, it still rises and falls on Jalen Brunson to me, but Cat has to be second or third best. He has to be, and by that I mean maybe Johnson from Atlanta is slightly better. But if you can get 18 and 12, or 18 to 25 and 12 from Towns every game,
you're good.
And Brunson, I think they're good enough. All right, let's move on. 76ers versus the Celtics. I mean, this is, to me, what this is an opportunity for Maxey from Philly to show what he's made of against Derek White, for instance, who's a phenomenal first-team all-defender, long, bigger, stronger than Maxey. So Maxey has a chance to prove some stuff. I look for the Celtics in 5 on this, or 4 myself, just because I don't think Philly without Embiid, and I'm not an Embiid guy, but without Embiid, I don't think they have a chance. And so, but having Tatum back, having the opportunity, hopefully, to continue the process of playing him into shape, Josh, I think I mean, you have to look at the Celtics as, a lot of people have Mazzulla as Coach of the Year among all of the great coaching that's happened in the NBA. Surprise on some pretty surprising teams, but maybe this is one of the great coaching jobs in recent memory.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what Joe Mazzulla has done this year, especially, and Jaylen Brown taking the big jump. Celtics in 4, I don't think it's particularly close. Just the 76ers, again, I think they're just happy to be here.
And maybe they are. And I would like to give a lot of credit and a real shout out to Nick Nurse. I thought he did a great job.
He's doing a fantastic job
with this mess they call a team. Paul George, great move again. There's some guys that are like Bradley Beal and Paul George kind of are at the top of the list of guys. No matter where they go, they poison the water in some way, and that's not because they're bad dudes. Well, not because they're bad dudes. They're just not. They were good at one point, and they aren't anymore at that point, and they're hurt all the time. And are they great in the locker room? Beal, we know isn't. George, we think might not be. So what are you really getting when you're betting the house money on that? So I would say, how about yourself? How many?
Well, I think the Celtics are going to win. You talked in the start about culture and some of the teams that have built it. I think the Boston Celtics are kind of the proponent of what the culture is 100%. Because, their head coach got the big man job and moved offices and hired Joe Mazzulla, and it's been kind of a seamless fit. But the Sixers, they're just proponent and reliant on JoJo's health, and that kind of handicaps them too much. But I will say PEDP is what they're calling Paul George right now. He has played he's played well in the since he's come back out of the suspension. Yeah. So maybe we should be giving him more of those injections.
And I hope so. And I hope, and you know what? I hope he comes out and I hope he proves me wrong, but a lot of people wrong, and the critics of him, because a lot of what's happened is because of his injury, being so injury prone. All right. Final Magic in Detroit in 4 for me. But maybe the Magic, because physically they are a physical team. Detroit's a physical team. I just look at Detroit now that Cunningham's back and getting closer to being himself again. I just look at Detroit with their toughness. And if there's any criticism that is most merited about Orlando, it would be their mental toughness, I think. So I would look in 4 or 5 for Detroit. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I'll take Detroit in 6 in this one because Jalen Duren held out of the season finale with a knee injury. He's a game-time decision today. And Cade Cunningham had a collapsed lung. I think it's going to take just a minute for his conditioning to get there, but Cade is a really good player. I think I just see a world where the physicality of the Magic, probably in Orlando, is what does it to the Pistons, but they end up cleaning up.
And in fairness to the Magic, and they're an easy franchise not to be fair with or look for reasons to be positive about after a pretty dismal season, is they are finally healthy at the exact right time. So, and they throttled Charlotte last night. Now, that was a snapshot. Is that, that's a one-game picture. That's all it is. But I still think 5 at the most. But anyway, Muneeb, how about?
We've seen 2 different Magic teams in the last 5 days.
Yeah, you have. That's true.
So
That's true.
I'm going to go
We've seen 2
Detroit
different Paolo Bancheros over the last 5 days. That's what it is.
Yeah. And Franz still doesn't look completely healthy. So, and I think he is one of their most important players.
Along with, I put him on the same pedestal with Banchero. I think Banchero. He's got to be at his very best.
Yeah, and the Desmond Bain thing has worked. It's also
He's
another weird situation with that. And remember, right before the play-in games, there was a report that came out that the Magic will move on from Jamal Mosley, regardless of what happens in this. So I don't love their culture. I think Detroit in 4.
Yep. Okay, you're listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Josh Fenwick. Muneeb Khan here talking playoff basketball, doing our NBA preview. All right, guys, of course, you're going to get my bias on this, but the series, we're going to start with the series.
This is a series.
Minnesota, Denver, 1:30 today. Everybody, streets should be quiet. There shouldn't be a car on the street. Everybody should be parked in front of their TV watching the Nuggets and the Wolves play. Okay, so here's the question. I'm going to answer this last. Does Minnesota... They've given Denver a lot of trouble for a long time. Does this version of the T-Wolves, given that Ant's knee has been problematic and still is, he's not 100%, do the Wolves have a shot at a team in Denver that's not 100% healthy? Watson's still out, but Joker is Zeus right now in terms of just the way he's playing. So does Minnesota have a shot in this series, or is Denver going to exact the revenge that they're out to get?
So you brought up the Raptors as the most likely to upset somebody or upset in the first round as the lower seed. I think it's absolutely 110% the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a team that's been to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. I know Ant isn't 100% healthy, and they're playing legitimately the best player in the world. But to me, the X factor is the addition of Ayo Dosunmu. This is a playoff guy. He's solid two-way. He's got hands. He can get some steals in there, and he's got a reliable outside shot, and he's a good playmaker. And then you have the shot maker in Anthony Edwards. So really, it comes down to, will Jokic have these 56, 15, 18 games that he put up against the Minnesota Timberwolves all year? Probably. I mean, he's the best player on the planet. I know it's playoff basketball, and he's getting guarded by Rudy Gobert, who is not who he once was. But I like the Timberwolves. I like the Timberwolves a lot in this. I like sneaky. Give me the Timberwolves in 7.
Wow. Okay. All right. Muneeb?
Look, obviously this is a fun series. And if you remember a few years ago, there was a famous quote by Anthony Edwards before they played the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant. He said, yeah, they got Kevin Durant, but we got Jaden McDaniels. And I think Jaden McDaniels, he is the ultimate X factor when you play the Minnesota Timberwolves, because you know what you're going to get on the defensive side. Obviously, he can guard 1 through 4, but if he's going to give you 20 points like that, you're going to win a lot of those games. And I love the Denver Nuggets. You said that they were kind of on a roll going in. They won 13 in a row, actually, to start their playoff run. I like the Denver Nuggets. I will take the Denver Nuggets in 5, actually. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, as good as they are, they can't get out of this Rudy Gobert situation. And they need to play Naz Reid a lot more minutes.
They'll have to play Naz a lot more, and I think you're absolutely right. To me, the critical factor is Ant. Your point about Dosunmu, that was a phenomenal pickup by the Wolves, and he has I think earned the kind of accolades that you gave him, Josh. He's really a really good player, and with them, the T-Wolves, I don't know if you say they blew it. Well, yeah, they blew it. They should have found a way to keep Alexander Walker, and Finch should have done a better job at getting more out of Alexander Walker. He had him too pigeonholed into the kind of player that he felt he should be. But I look at this as Denver. I'm going to go Denver in 6. because I think Jokic wants this. I think Jokic wants this so bad. I did a lot of thinking this past week about who's the MVP in the league, and I came to the conclusion, hands down, it's Nikola Jokic is the MVP this year for me, because it's not just, I mean, as phenomenal as Shea is, he's on a better team, and he carried the team when they had injuries. But what Jokic did, he doesn't just carry the team. He throws everybody on the back, and he walks uphill while pulling a trailer behind him. Like he is the consummate guy who makes not just great numbers on the offensive end by himself, but when you look at the rebounds and the assists, how many points he creates for other players. I think it's something like 28 points a game that he creates through his assists. That goes way beyond what Shea does. And no player is more important to their team than Nikola Jokic. Now, having said that, Wolves have had success. I haven't liked how they played this year. They have been really up and down. And now with Ant being somewhat questionable and Denver being locked in, Jamal Murray playing as well as he is, Aaron Gordon being back and healthy, hopefully for the whole playoffs. And that, to me, would be the one thing that would derail Denver, is if Aaron Gordon went down or Peyton Watson couldn't come back. If they can get Watson in games 2 or 3, I look at this being Denver's year with the home court advantage, although there's all kinds of reasons to go the way that you went, Josh, because we remember Game 7 from a couple of years ago in Denver. Mm-hmm. Denver way up going into the fourth quarter, and they found a way to lose it. So lessons learned. So it's going to be a great series.
I think we have to remember, though, that the Minnesota Timberwolves have a guy. It's just so, right? Like, Josh, it's so important to have a guy.
This is now guy versus guy, right? So
yes.
It's who are the rest of the guys.
Yes.
And Minnesota has some good rest of the guys, too.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with you about Rudy. I still think he is, you about Rudy. I still think he's effective in the right situations, and he will be able to play some minutes in this series.
Jokic has his number. He's
Jokic. Well,
but he has
Jokic has Wemby's number. Like
Jokic has everybody's number, but he's had Rudy Gobert's number basically since coming in the league.
Oh yeah, I mean Rudy and Jokic. It is a junior high versus pro.
Yeah. Real
quickly, guys. Houston Lakers. Muneeb, Lakers have any shot?
No, I think the Rockets in 6. I think LeBron gives them 2 games.
Okay.
Ditto.
Okay. I'm going to go Rockets in 5. Suns versus Thunder. Right.
Yeah, Thunder in 4.
Can they win in 3 games? I think the refs just give them the 4th game.
I just think you forfeit.
Dylan Brooks could get him a game.
Who are the Blazers playing?
The Blazers are playing the Spurs.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think
heard
they
of
got
the
a game.
Spurs. That game in Phoenix, it kind of tying back to the joy of winning, to see Portland win the way they did, see Denny play the way he has, the way he's emerged this year. Again, you can see a poison culture versus a culture that's grounded in building, I won't say the right way, but building in a way that makes sense, as opposed to just continuing to throw darts at the board like the Washington team does, and to give up on Denny the way they did, and to get back what they got, which was not much, and to turn around and to see Portland be able to have him come into kind of borderline franchise player, not quite, but really close right now. But the Spurs, oh my God, what a marvelous season. Wemby is a revelation. The question is Wemby at 22
experience
championship ready? I think he is. I think the West is going to be fantastic. If Denver does get through San Antonio, my God. And then if San Antonio were to get through that, San Antonio, OKC, oh my God.
Yeah.
What epic series those will be. I look at this to be, I'm going to go with the Blazers or with the Spurs in 5.
I agree. Spurs in 5. I think the Blazers get the first game. I think they're jacked up that they won the play-in game, and they come in and they're super excited, and everyone else in the Spurs is sort of taken off guard except for Wemby. They lose the first game, and then he's like, guys, let's dial in, and they win the next 4 straight.
Yeah, I I think the Spurs are going to win in 5. But, to the Portland Trailblazers, I think we forget that in this year was the Chauncey Billups
What a wild
situation.
Season, eh?
Right? What a wild situation. That happened this year. I think we forget that Thiago Splitter took over.
Listen to the podcast I have with Ben Golliver, because he's from Portland. And so he's got some real great insights into that exact phenomenon. To overcome that,
yes.
The FBI arresting your flipping
sitting head coach,
unthinkable, and to come back and to do what they've done. Another one of the great stories
in the Western Conference. Denny making an All-Star team in the I think so many things came together. I think they deserve at least to win one game.
I hope they do. I hope they do. They're an easy team to pull for now. Muneeb, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
This was fantastic. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about our community champion and some other stuff that's going on locally here on Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Muneeb Khan, our guest today, and our great show's producer, Josh Fenwick. This will be a short segment before we get to our deep dive, but we're going to talk about our community champions right now. Community Champions sponsored by Innovative Benefits. If it's time for you to review your company benefits, personal insurance plans, or investment strategies, you've got to talk to Randy Parrish and his team at Innovative Benefits. They will give you straightforward and honest advice with access to the very best products in the industry. Trust the great folks, and that's the big thing. You got to trust people when they're dealing with your money, and these are the people you can trust at Innovative Benefits to do what's best for you, your family, and your business, all very important parts of your life. To find out more, go to innovativebenefits.ca. That's innovativebenefits.ca. Our community champion this week is a gentleman by the name of Stéphane Lebon. Stéphane was an official in the Edmonton community for many, many years. And he and his family moved away from Edmonton out to BC a few years ago. But I coached for a long, long time in the Edmonton area. I, of course, had my own things with officials and had way too many technicals. And most of the people that are officiating are really good folks. The folks at EBOA try real hard to do a good job to keep officials coming into the community, to keep being able to provide quality officiating for all of the people playing basketball at all the different levels in the community. Stéphane worked his way up through the junior high school, and into the college and university ranks. And I can reflect on Stéphane on a very personal level, because there was no one that I enjoyed more when I saw Stéphane walk into the gym before a game. I go, this is going to be great tonight, because I knew Stéphane would be on the court, not just giving 100%, but doing a great job as an official and being willing to dialogue with the coaches, even when, and this is personal, I guess, directed on a personal level, even when sometimes the coaches would get a bit heated. Stéphane knew how to diffuse situations. He never shied away from just talking to the coaches, working through if there was a question or if a coach was getting too carried away, calming the coach down, trying to keep the game focused on the players. And Stéphane, he was a gentleman. He was just a wonderful human being. He was the kind of guy that when you saw him walking down the hall, you couldn't wait to go up, shake his hand, say hi, and have a conversation with him, because he was a beautiful, beautiful human being. Stéphane was taken from us recently after a long, courageous fight with cancer. And we are so sorry for Stéphane's two daughters. We're so sorry for the officiating and basketball communities, because when you talk about somebody embodying the notion of being a community champion, nobody was more of a community champion than Stéphane Lebon. We're going to miss you, Stéphane. God bless. I want to give a shout out as well to a couple of other people that I think are very, very special. Before I forget, recently, I believe it was EYBA, gave out 2 awards for coaching excellence in their recent celebration of their winter seasons. And the name, I'm not going to share the names of the coaches because, quite frankly, congratulations to the coaches, but I'm focusing on who the awards are named after because they follow also in the footsteps of what I just described with Stefan LeBon. Brian Anderson, the great Harry Ainley coach, football, girls basketball, boys basketball, provincial champ, member of the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame, and long-time huge sports advocate on Edmonton City Council. Nobody fought as hard as Brian Anderson did, along with the great Mayor Steve Mandel, to make sports happen in our city. When we were able to put the deal together to bring Canada Basketball's women's national team here, it was due to Brian Anderson working with his fellow councilors to tell them about the benefits of having a great team like this in our community and the effect that could have on particularly young girls. But Brian Anderson was a true mountain of a man. And he is honored, and I am proud to say when I was at Basketball Alberta, it was the staff that I worked with and our board of directors that came up with naming the Girls Coaching Award after Brian Anderson. And I'm also proud on the next level that for the boys, it's for the Phil Allen Memorial Award for coaching excellence. And Phil winning as coach in Canadian college basketball history, dear friend, one of the founders of club basketball in Edmonton, phenomenal coach at SAIT, where he won national championships, at Grant McEwen, at Lakeland College. He went out to Lloydminster. They didn't even have a basketball program, I don't think, when he showed up in Lloydminster. And within a year, they were winning the league. Like, Phil was a phenomenal coach, but even more than that, a phenomenal human being. We miss Phil, we miss Brian, and now we miss Stefan. So thank you for these people and what they do for our communities. Finally, a couple of other shout-outs. We had on our show a few weeks ago a gentleman from Southern Alberta, and Brian has been hosting has been the primary person hosting the Girls All-Star Showcase down in Southern Alberta for now 33 years. You talk about an unsung hero. They just finished their 33rd annual showcase. 125 players from around the province came. They played in 10 games, plus a 3x3 mini tournament and a three-point competition. They had a banquet. They handed out awards. Every player there got a medal. They celebrate girls basketball, at girls high school basketball at such a high level. But a tribute to Brian and his team. Thank you for bringing that forward. And in terms of All-Stars, high school All-Stars, today, later in the afternoon, the Edmonton Stingers are going to be hosting the high school girls All-Star games over at Harry Ainley High School. The girls start at 5 o'clock. The boys start at 7 o'clock. It's a $5 admission. Go on over and support your local high school players. There'll be a couple of great games. Good on the Stingers for putting this together. The Stingers, by the way, added a G Leaguer this week. I know they have more roster announcements coming up, and they better get them out soon as we have training camps starting in less than 2 weeks, and the season's about 3 weeks away. So maybe even a bit less than that, but the season's just right around the corner for the Edmonton Stingers and pro basketball in Edmonton. We're going to take a break right now, and it's really important to me as part of this show that we support people in our community. I'm always grateful for the people at Sports 1440 who have allowed me to be able to talk about basketball on the airwaves and over YouTube. But I'm mostly grateful to the people in the community who do the work, a lot of it thankless, and the many, many hours that people oftentimes don't understand or appreciate to make basketball possible, particularly for the young people in our community. Stefan, we'll miss you. Brian and Phil, of course, we always miss you. So we're going to take a break right now, and I have a great segment coming up. The next two segments are the Deep Dive with Ben Golliver, and we go deep into the NBA playoffs, and you're going to get Ben's great perspectives when we come back here on Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Josh Fenwick on your sports leader, Sports 1440.